Okay, so I'm going to pick up the analysis looking at the way that they pressed. And Juventus had a lot of joy early doors, really quite a nervy start for Barcelona, pressing them high in their third, winning the ball back. You can see the two strikers splitting to pressurise the two centre-backs, with Vidal as an attacking centre-mid playing in between and the other two midfielders sort of blocking passing lanes from there. There's two or three examples early doors where Juventus certainly got Barcelona on the back foot, and it's a bit hard to see the footage here, but again, Barcelona trying to play out. You can see the front three with Vidal just in behind, and you can see that Juventus had a lot of joy in the first phase pressing. So here we'll have a look at the defensive phase when they couldn't press high, and they retained the 4-3-1-2 shape, if you like. You can see the midfield three here, and I just want to bring your attention to Vidal's role, because a lot of the time he spent ahead of those front three in order to be able to press with the strikers, press Busquets ideally was the tactical plan, but his role had to change at various points. The two strikers pressed quite passively. Their job was just to really just shield play and force it out wide. In Italy, they have more of a mentality of trying to preserve the energy levels of the two forwards really for the attacking phase, and so they can use their energy pressing high and also for counter-attacking. Here's an example of what I was just speaking about, how Vidal played ahead of the midfield three, and that's in order to try and press these half-space areas or Busquets, Rakitic and Iniesta like to drop into. But it caused Juventus a lot of problems and allowed Barcelona to penetrate on a number of occasions via Messi, through horizontal shifts, through diagonal balls from the right hand side half space zone. I'll show you hopefully in a second. Initially I'd say Barcelona focused most of their attacks down the right hand side with a view of getting Neymar and Alba in 1v1s and 2v2s. Okay, so as I stop the play here, this was what Juventus' game plan was. If I just identify the left back here, Evra, he's trying to push into the same line as midfield in order to create that midfield four, a line of four players in the defensive phase, so they can overload into the channels and allow Vidal to go and press high. But with the midfield three as it was, this diagonal ball here caused them massive problems, and the defensive three, which now effectively became a back three, got really stretched. And if you look at the space in between to penetrate, where Iniesta makes a run through the half space there, that was a byproduct of that defensive organisation. So if we look on the replay here, you can see it's effectively now a back three and a midfield three, really compact through the central areas of the pitch, but from half space to half space diagonal switches, which Barcelona are kind of famed for, it left that defensive three really wide open. And as you can see from this picture, you can see the back three are starting to get stretched. They're detached from the midfield three, and the beauty of a diagonal half space to half space ball is that it's a way of moving forwards while stretching the team at the opposition side both in a vertical and a horizontal sense. And that's the power of that element of pass. But Barcelona are so good at playing in between the lines as well when these switches take place and occur. And if I stop it here, Juventus have got a completely dismantled defensive organisation. Their primary defensive structure, which they're really famed for, has been broken down here. And it leaves space between defenders in a kind of half space of the penalty box zone, where Iniesta just makes an absolute fantastic run, as I've already mentioned. I'm not quite sure what Pirlo and Marquisio do here in terms of defending that space. Pirlo sort of comes out to the edge of the box as Iniesta's running in, so perhaps there's an argument to say he could have seen that run and prevented it. But also talks about Vidal's starting position to press higher up the pitch. You can see that Iniesta's got on the other side of him and got the run, which allows him to penetrate there and break through their lines. And you'll see Juventus acknowledged this and made adjustments quite early in the game. Now, I mentioned about Barcelona focusing a lot of their attacks down the right hand side. That was a common occurrence throughout the whole of the 2015 season. either through the left or the right. It was an overload to isolate strategy to either get Messi or Neymar or Suarez in 1v1s. And to counteract that, that explains Evra's role with Juventus and the way that they're sort of pressurising the play out wide here. You can see Messi's dropping into this right-hand side, Pogba's in the right-hand side. You look at the amount of players that Juventus have got down this right-hand side, and even Evra's in that midfield line again. So you can see that Juventus are clearly trying to create an overload into the channels. And you can see again Evra's really pressing high. Vidal still pressing ahead, but that diagonal ball once again has stretched their entire units and was killing Juventus early doors. And you'll see another example of it here. You can see Messi's dropping deep, working more on this right hand side. We can see Vidal ahead of the midfield three, and again it leaves those gaps open. Messi's got the ability to penetrate with those diagonal passes between the lines. And Allegri made changes. He quickly dropped Vidal back into a back four and defended more in a 4-4-2 shape in the end, because they were just getting stretched. You can see the defensive organisation of Juventus was all over the place there as they're switching the play from half space to half space again. This is one of the biggest problems teams face against Barcelona, is that they really compact the central areas and get lots of players in close proximity to defend the centre to force the play out wide. But that plays into Barcelona's counter-pressing strategy. So when teams win the ball back, like now, you can see every player's within 2, 3, 4, 5 metres of each other. And Barcelona, because they retain possession so well, position their players in such a way that they expect to lose the ball in these central areas, and they place 2, maybe 3 players in and around that D, just 5 yards off. They allow for the first pass, and then they press with a very aggressive intensity all around after that first pass, and that's what enables them to win the ball back in that counter-pressing fashion so early. So you can see another half-space diagonal pass almost for Juventus. Here we see Evra once again in the midfield line, but Barcelona are now trying to exploit that space in behind, again in order to stretch and to create problems for the back three. With Barcelona overloading the right hand side, it enabled them on a couple of occasions like here, with which to get in behind and penetrate the very space the left back normally would be. And this is a great save by the way from Buffon to prevent it from going 2-0 in the opening 15 minutes. So we say great managers make great decisions in the moment. Now you can start to see Vidal's moved into that back line to make it 4-4-2. Barcelona's still focusing their attacks down this right hand side in order to try and get Neymar in 1v1s, but you can see the diagonal ball is not really on now. So they're still trying to keep them onto this side, move the opposition, keep Juventus on this right hand side, or Barcelona's right hand side attacking wise, so that they can work the ball out to Neymar and Alba, who are very dominant in sort of 1v1 situations. They're not equal 1v1s, and that's what is the strength, I guess, of Barcelona. But I talk about transitions again, and when Juventus win it back, they've got to keep it for 3-4 passes or 6 seconds, and you can see they start to achieve this, and this is why they clawed their way back into the game. What they also did was, as you can see here, push Evra extremely high up on the fullbacks on both sides. They started to take risk, and there's an element of Juventus pushing Barcelona back now, having to defend and being able to implement their own counter-pressing tactic. We got an opportunity to look at what Juventus's attacking lines and attacking shape was. You can see Pirlo playing in between as normal, but you can see pushing both fullbacks on. If I highlight Vidal here, he's playing in a half fullback, half centre mid role, and it's becoming a much more popular position to take up now. But that's what allows Liechtenstein on this right hand side to play right up in between the lines. It's a 2+3 shape, you might argue, in terms of the first two lines. But both fullbacks are incredibly aggressive. At the risk of repeating myself, you'll see it here again. You can see it's more of a midfield four now, so they're not working as hard in the horizontal shifts, and they're preventing that diagonal pass to feet in and around the half space zones that Barcelona like to utilise. And once again, you'll get a vibe for the aggression of the defending and the transition here. You can see Pirlo's on the ball, and like I mentioned, he's masterful at being able to play under pressure. That first player in transition play forwards to someone who can also play forwards and relieve the tension that they might be under, which allows Juventus to escape the counter-pressing tactics that Barcelona implement usually so well. And it was great that Juventus came back into the game and it wasn't all one-way traffic. You can see the starter to possession went from 80-20 to about 60-40 during the next 20 minutes. And they enjoyed a good spell, and even under pressure, at moments like this, how many teams would have just gone long? But Juventus are a little bit more controlled, a little bit measured. They're doubling up on the wings with Tevez pulling out to this side. With Evra again, I've already mentioned, the fullbacks playing incredibly high up, pinning Barcelona back just a little bit. And you can see everything we've discussed again repeating itself. Attacks down the right hand side, and more of a midfield four. Prevention of Messi, who's dropping into those deep pockets from making those diagonal passes that he loves to make in here. The quick 1-2s and penetration between the lines. You can see the overload. Look how aggressive Juventus are here, at outnumbering in the channels where they're trying to pin Barcelona into, trying to prevent that horizontal shift that they've just made there. That just leaves them just that little bit open. You can see half space to half space switches, which is a deliberate ploy again from Barcelona to just try and lure players out of that shell, disconnect one or two midfielders, but also to just create gaps for penetration like in here, where they've managed to find Neymar who's just tucked in a little bit. You see here, good compact central presence. You can see Evra again joining the midfield line within the press. You can see Barcelona trying to exploit that space in behind. But good transition play again from Juventus, particularly when Pirlo gets on the ball. Here, many defenders would have absolutely launched that there, but good controlled possession again from Juventus allows them to get into their full attacking shape. They've kept retained possession for over 6-7 seconds, and now it's Barcelona who are having to get back into their defensive shape. Interested when Barcelona did attack down the left, like here. You could argue it's 2v2, I would argue it's more 3 or 4v2. You can see not many Barcelona players are coming in to support, just one in the half space to another half space switch. But they're still looking to draw Evra out and looking to use that pocket of space to stretch that defensive three. You see Rakitic just moving into that space there, and they're moving the ball again, half space to half space. And there, that's where the penetration occurs, where it just opens up the passing lanes during those horizontal switches that they're good at. But Barcelona's Luis Enrique made changes as well tactically. You can see here, this happened a few times in the game. They go back, but they're not just going back. Look how deep the centre backs are. This was a deliberate ploy to lure Juventus out, because when Juventus are in a low block, they're extremely good. Okay, and it just opened up the pitch, opened up the space, and they're trying to create space in behind Evra and in behind the lines a little bit. Unsuccessful on this occasion, but on 2 or 3 other occasions in the second half, it proved very successful. And if I finish off by looking at the last few goals, you saw Juventus' high pressing game finally pay off and get some dividends. This is a great counter attack from winning the ball back from Barcelona. Gets them back into 1-1. But I think, as the last 2 goals will show, this is what Enrique's brought to Barcelona. He's brought a sort of Mourinho Madrid or Simeone's Atletico Madrid counter-attacking style. And whilst I think the goalkeeper should do better there and parry the ball far out of the way of goal, you can see here from a set piece, Barcelona win it back, and albeit they've got to gamble Juventus, that's why they're left in 1v1, 2v1 situations. But this is the strength of the front three of Barcelona. They're such fast transition counter-attacking players that they've got that extra weapon. Thanks for watching. Please share. Please get the information out there. If you can, like I've mentioned, help grow the channel, and I'll keep producing more videos that will hopefully help coaches develop their understanding of the game. Thanks for watching.